What is going on, guys? It is WrestleGamia here, back with another video, and one of the biggest questions surrounding AEW is whether the promotion plans on launching a video game. Join us now as WrestleGamia looks at all we know about a potential All Elite Wrestling video game. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more videos like this. But before we look at the information, let's first look at the current market. As like wrestling itself, the wrestling video game market is currently dominated by WWE Games. Rather than New Japan Pro Wrestling's Fire Pro Wrestling series, the only current wrestling game is the WWE 2K series, and as discussed in several videos, this year's version is a dog of a game. Even worse, anyone wanting to play wrestlers outside the WWE have had to use Create a Wrestler mode to make anything close to their favourite stars from Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling or wherever. With 2K lacking a Creator Championship and Creator Pay-Per-View mode, gameplay outside the WWE is extremely limited. For whatever reason, licensed wrestling games such as WWE 2K and Fire Pro have been the only games produced. That being by big companies, as smaller companies are also working on wrestling video games like WrestleGamia, but that's a video for another day. However, the landscape may change as Yuke's, the developers involved with the WWE for decades, has branched out on its own and is reportedly working on a new wrestling video game. The question fans are asking is whether the game will be a generic game or an official AEW licensed one. But whilst they currently dominate the market, what was the gold standard? Now, gamers are particular, and while everyone has their favourite wrestling games, one wrestling game is repeatedly mentioned wherever the conversation of the greatest wrestling video game is brought up. That game, of course, is N64's WWF No Mercy. Like any wrestling game that's nearly 20 years old, No Mercy's graphics and sound aren't compelling and have aged like a yogurt next to a radiator, but its gameplay is still second to none when it comes to wrestling games. The controls are easy to learn, but the game also features a number of advanced options you can master, where every wrestler has a variety of individualized moves depending on their location as well as their opponent. Factor in the game's wide open storyline mode, and it's a game many fans still revisit, whether it's on their vintage N64 or via an emulator on PC. If that doesn't do the game justice enough, consider these comments from a retro review at IGN.com. While the graphics were less than perfect, the gameplay was dead on, featuring the full roster of characters, a balanced grapple and striking system complete with combos, full weapon and backstage action, and tons of gimmick matches. The ability to bring in guest referees was a fan favourite as well, as players could screw their friends over in a one-on-one battle with the third player as the ref. Classic. Despite what newbies may claim, there's truly no better American wrestling game in history, as No Mercy is still regarded as the most balanced and true-to-life fighter in the business. Why are we bringing up N64's No Mercy game so much? Well, we'll explain later. But AEW has built a game task force, as Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and AEW Vice President of Business Operations are said to be working on the game and treating it as an important component of the AEW brand. In a recent interview, AEW revealed that they have assembled a game task force in order to get the best game possible. Bear in mind that a number of AEW stars are gamers themselves. For example, Kenny Omega attends video game conventions and regularly competes in video game events. You may also recall that AEW's Fyter Fest event special was held in conjunction with a video game convention. During an interview, Chris Jericho discussed how a number of wrestlers dressed up as characters from Super Mario Bros. During Jericho's wrestling cruise, so many do have an interest in gaming. AEW star Kenny Omega got fans talking when he was asked about the chances of an AEW video game. According to a report at Fightful.com, during the Behind the Elite mailbag at StarCast 3, Kenny Omega, an avid video game enthusiast, confirmed that an AEW video game is top of his priority list. Omega said that he wouldn't be surprised if they announced something video game related by the end of the year. Omega also revealed during StarCast 3 that he has been in contact with many video game developers, including Koei, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and Namco Bandai. Omega also mentioned that you may see the Kenny Omega character in another video game soon. It's obvious that these wrestlers take their gaming seriously and have high expectations for an AEW video game. With AEW promoting itself as a wrestling-driven product that caters to its fans, it doesn't want to use up any of their goodwill by releasing a wrestling game that is rubbish. It's also important to remember that wrestling games can be a good way to bring in new fans, as gamers who like the wrestling game may want to check out the promotion itself. But rumours of the game took on more substance last summer when the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that a number of AEW stars were scanned for a video game, and that Nick Jackson confirmed this. This could also mean that they've already chosen a developer. Omega's interest in seeing AEW come to life in its own video game date back even further, as Fightful.com reported. At Starrcast 2 in May, Kenny Omega discussed being interested in creating a video game with the old-school engine of the WWF No Mercy Nintendo 64 video game, even going so far as to discuss this on Twitter with the former game developer Akai, now known as Synth Sophia. Indeed, the game No Mercy seems intrinsic to any future AEW game. But what are the goals of the game? While innovative games should by their nature bring something new to the table, the target seems to be capturing the incredible gameplay of N64's No Mercy, with the graphics and sound of today, and a creation suite that enables players to create any wrestler, belt or arena they want. Another option often asked for is General Manager mode, which the WWE hasn't included in their game since SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. However, is it realistic to expect a game designer to incorporate all these elements into an AEW game? Now, there doesn't seem to be any reason why a game designer can't design such a game. Superior graphics and sound are expected with any game, while the expanded capabilities of systems like the PlayStation 4 make it more than possible to combine all these features into one game. One of the biggest questions is how long it will take to design it, which we'll discuss shortly. But one of the highlights of any AEW game is that of its many wrestlers. While players can create any wrestler on the 2K games, the wrestlers in the AEW game will likely be developed from the ground up, allowing designers a chance to perfect their moveset, look and other attributes. So far, no wrestlers have been confirmed, but the one screenshot of a wrestler being developed looked like MJF. What do you guys think? But do they have a potential partner in mind? One of the major questions surrounding the AEW game is what game developer will work on building it. One potential partner is Yuke's. The Osaka, Japan-based Yuke's has been a maker of wrestling and fighting games since the early 1990s. It delivered annual titles for the WWE SmackDown and Raw television events from 2000 to 2012 under publisher THQ. The company's also created a surprisingly successful series of Ultimate Fighting Championship games, UFC Undisputed. While Yuke's produced some well-received WWE wrestling games, those in the company admit they seem to have lost their creativity. Players are expecting something new every time we release a game, and we feel like we haven't achieved what we really wanted to do. Hiromi Furuta, senior vice president and producer at Yuke, said at the time, "In many cases, we're still using old assets and we're not able to do some things in the way we want to. Now perhaps AEW might give them the time they need, as WWE games always have a strict deadline. But when should we expect this game? Well, naturally wrestling fans and gamers alike want their game released now, preferably yesterday, but as anyone that is familiar with video game development knows, a game can't be rushed or you end up with a product like WWE 2K20. Kenny Omega seems to know this and told the fans at Starrcast 3, "You know, I've been globetrotting a little bit and I've been trying to assemble and piece together some people who might be in the know, the vision of what this needs to be." Trust me, having a video game for AEW is top of my priority list. And I can't share anything right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if there might be something to announce by the end of the year, so be ready for that, guys. Now, the problem with designing video games, especially brand new ones, is that they can take an enormous amount of time to create. Consider this article on game development. Games are complex, and it can take months or years for games to be ready. Lots of overtime is needed in the final stages. Eventually, main production begins to wrap up and testing goes into full swing. Once production ends, the game is fully tested and all the known bugs are eliminated, sometimes by young game players who sign up to test the game as a beta or prototype version. The game goes gold and is shipped to stores. Development time ranges from months to years depending on whether the game is an independent production or is in 2D or is a fully fledged studio release that incorporates 3D polygons and other advanced effects. Game types such as sports or role-playing games (RPG) also affects development time, and some adventures or RPGs have been known to be under development for 5 to 10 years. If Ukes, which has stated it's already working on a new design for a wrestling game, were to get the AEW license, the game might be released sooner than later. Nonetheless, fans shouldn't expect the game anytime soon, although it's been teased that an announcement will be made at the end of the year concerning the game. Ultimately, as any long-time gamers will know, one can never count on a game being released until it's in their hands, as gaming history is full of long-delayed games and cancelled games. Hopefully, AEW's new video game won't suffer from either of these. But there you have it guys, all we know so far on the latest AEW video game. Who should be the developers and what features should be included? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling video game content.